Hi everybody, the peace fight round 3. We are in the part of the course where we have to see examples of where the bishop is superior. But first, story time. It's about this handsome fella, David Bronstein, who was among the best in the 50s and narrowly missed becoming world champion in 1951. He was playing with the white pieces in a Spanish opening, and the story goes that here in this position he was thinking for 50 minutes because he could either drop back with the bishop or exchange the bishop and thereby, as he claimed, lose the control of 32 light squares. Okay, that sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, but there is a point to it, because if you have a bishop that your opponent doesn't have, then it's unopposed and they can move freely and you dominate those squares far better. Okay, let's move this handsome fella out and let's see Bronstein's point in action. Let's jump to this position. I have the white pieces here in the Swedish First League, and of course it's a French, because every time we play against a Swedish guy they play the French. It's of course because of the inspiration from the legend Ulf Andersson. How should we approach like any position? First we should look at the pieces and the pawn structure. White has bishops, black has light square bishop and knight. White has some ugly pawns here on the queen side, while black has some central control with some central pawns. However, black paid the price of having a slightly weak king here, because he has only 2 pawns there and one of them has moved up already, leaving a lot of dark squares being weak here. And this is very important, because we can anticipate that black will probably play bishop f5 very soon, more or less forcing the exchange of the bishops. And we are left with a peace fight between the dark squared bishop and the knight. And the knight will probably try to find an outpost, a safe square somewhere. But what to do with our bishop? I think because of the dark squares that are weak around the black king, we should try to get closer to the king without rooks and queen. So first a4 makes so much sense because we need to try to open the b file. And black shouldn't allow such activity, because for him to win the peace fight, his knight need to have a close position and need to find a nice outpost. Here I was looking at my queen, where to activate that. I think towards the queen side, because here black has some weak pawns and perhaps we can open up some files for our rook and queen. So that's why I think it was a mistake by black that he opened up for us. But I think his plan was to activate his knight and try to win the peace fight here. Because if the knight could go to e5 next, it has so many tasty options afterwards. Which brings us to our first beauty move of the game, playing d4. Because it's first of all very important that the knight doesn't find a nice outpost, and second of all because we really want to open up our position and make the knight feel uncomfortable. So of course we don't regain the pawn here. We rather keep up the pressure and activate our pieces. And now black just simply has to open up for our pieces with c takes d4. Of which it becomes so absolutely clear that the knight on c6 is not really stable at all. Just imagine if that knight could be on c4. Then perhaps black would have won the peace fight here. However, in the game it was an issue for black, as white will now pin it with all his heavy pieces. And as a great example for white's dominance here, the knight had to retreat and the white bishop went to attack, with a nasty threat of checkmate. And this was all because white anticipated this all along in the peace fight. Let's jump a bit ahead, where white is infiltrating and putting so much pressure on black, all the pins, all the pressure, which eventually led to black making a blunder here with rook b7. So that's all folks. If you have any questions to this, please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next one.